Hey guys, thank you for clicking on my review. You guys are just the best. I really appreciate you. You guys are super dope. So thank you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about I'm Not Okay With This. So I'm Not Okay With This follows our lead character Sydney, and she is just played expertly by Sophia Lillis, who just did an absolutely fantastic job. So well done there. In fact, the performances across the board were great, but let me just get back to the story. So we're going to be following Sydney, and she's just your ordinary, average, typical white girl, as she describes herself, and she basically thinks there is absolutely nothing special about her at all, and basically she's right. She is an introverted, sometimes a little bit of a jerk, just an introverted, jerky, bratty girl. But there's reasons for that. I mean, her dad died about a year ago. He hung himself. That's hectic. That, of course, will weigh on anyone's psyche. And her relationship with her mom is a little bit on the rocks. And also she feels like she's got no friends. No one cares about her. So she's just not a typically happy person. But things start to happen in her life that are just a little bit crazy, just can't really be explained. And now she has to balance not enjoying life and weird things happening in life. And now they're just coming together and it's just a roller coaster of emotions. And she has to figure out how to deal with all of this. And I'm going to be honest, this show, I enjoyed it. I actually did. And it took me for a ride, I won't lie. So the things I really enjoyed about this series, as I mentioned before, the performances, oh my word, across the board, I enjoyed every single character's acting. They were great. They were all great. Well done to the casting directors and everything like that. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the performances. Thumbs up in regards to that. Cinematography was also great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It felt really, really claustrophobic when it needed to. I enjoyed the editing as well. Lots of quick takes. When Sydney was experiencing paranoia or just this feeling of like the stress of life was getting to her, the editing reflected that, and there were constant flashbacks to moments of high stress and trauma in her life, which I enjoyed as well. There was one thing about the series I did not like at all when it started, but it started to grow on me as the series went on, and that was the use of narration. Now, I've mentioned in many videos that I love narration when it's done correctly. This series, how they handle it is weird. Okay, so we are constantly hearing what's happening on in Sydney's head. So when she sits down, she basically goes, oh, I don't like this guy, but she doesn't actually say that. You hear her thoughts, and that's how you get introduced to her character. You're basically learning everything about her through her thoughts. And that, when it starts to get to this annoying line of the show uses this as a crux. So rather than showing you that she's upset, that she's emotional, that she doesn't like what's happening, her consciousness is just going, I don't like him. I don't like this situation. And I'm a huge fan of show don't tell, like just personally, and I think most people are. So to have all this information spoon-fed to you, I was a little bit like, can I not come up with my own thoughts? Can I not decipher what these characters are feeling like? And so many times when you're busy just trying to enjoy a scene, you actually get jerked out of it. You lose your engagement, you lose your immersion in this series because you're trying to engage with these characters, because of course you don't just want to engage with Sydney the lead, you want to engage with all of these other characters. But while they're talking, this voiceover will pop up and she goes, I don't like what this person has to say. I'm upset with life. This. And it happens so consistently. And to be 100% honest, I think so many of the scenes would have benefited from actually taking this voiceover out. It's a lot like Aragon. I don't know if you remember watching that movie at all, where the dragon had the ability to speak, but she would never add any useful dialogue. Very often she would just add something and we'd be like, yeah, I already know that. That's what it felt like with this series as well. Every time we heard something come from her mind, or we were exposed to her thoughts, was either something we already knew or something that we could have deciphered on our own. And so it felt like the show was spoon feeding you, like it was babying you. And that was a little bit annoying. But I did start to enjoy it near the end. It never got to the point where I was like, ooh, I can't wait for what she's thinking now. And I actually remember in one scene in particular, the voiceover thing was really starting to annoy me, because this entire series, we've been using it as a crux to try to figure out how she's feeling. And there were 2 or 3 scenes where I wanted to be like, okay, what are you feeling? Please tell me now. And then she wouldn't address it. And I was like, okay. So it's only important to tell me when you want to tell me, hey? So that was a little bit annoying. And again, I said narration can be used correctly. I'm going to use anime as an example. I'm not the biggest fan of anime, but I think there are some animes out there that are just fantastic. And Attack on Titan is one of them. And there's this scene where the main character, Eren Yeager, he's been stabbed through the chest with this giant piece of wood. And he is talking to himself. So you're hearing his thoughts. And he's constantly questioning himself. And he gives himself this monologue talking about whether he should give up or should he keep fighting. And there's this internal struggle inside him. And so it's interesting to get that because you're getting two different perspectives from inside his head, and you understand why the creators or the show, the directors and all of that wanted you to see this internal struggle they're expecting. I mean, that he's experiencing. With this series, you never get that depth with her thoughts anyway. They're all such surface level thoughts that she's thinking that there's no benefit from having these moments of thoughts inside. Again, okay, I know I've been talking about this for a long period of time, but I'm going to bring it up again. Grey's Anatomy was another series. Now, I didn't only watch like the first 2 seasons when I was much younger, but if I'm not mistaken, the episode always started and ended with the main chick from Grey's Anatomy. I think her name was Meredith. I only watched the series when I was tiny, but the episodes always started and ended with her giving narration about her feelings. I think this series could have benefited from taking a more just a route like that, where we get her voiceovers, we get her understanding of her decisions to do specific things, but only at the beginning or the end of the episode, so we don't have this constant one-line delivery of her internal thoughts, and they break our immersion with the series. Sorry, I know I spoke about that for a long time, but when I go through my notes, it's just me talking about that majority of the time. Let's get off the topic of thoughts and minds and what we think and expressions and all of that sort of stuff. Let's dive back into the characters. Characters I thoroughly enjoyed. They were all great. You did get a few of the stereotypes. You got the classic, I don't know how to describe her without sounding politically incorrect, but the girl that likes to sleep around. And you got your typical jock, and you've got, so you just got your character archetypes, and they didn't do much with that. They were very, very surface level. And yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. I wish we could have gotten those characters to be explored a little bit more, but hey, I'm glad we got the developments with the main characters. That's the important part, and I'm glad we got that. And of course, these characters were all depicted in incredibly realistic ways and in incredibly realistic scenarios, except for the final scene in the entire series, which could have been incredibly easily reversed or stopped, but I'm not going to get into that because that is serious spoiler territories. As I said, that is the final scene in the entire series, so I'm not going to get into that, don't worry. This series must have also had a really, really, really big budget in terms of licensed songs, because every new scene basically starts with a new licensed song. Of course, they're all alternative indie rock songs and stuff like that, so I'm assuming that they didn't have to pay tons and tons and tons for that. But it got a little bit jarring at times as well, when whenever there's a new scene, there's a new song. That I enjoyed it as somebody that loves music, but at the same time, again, it almost felt like a crutch for introducing a new scene. They would just introduce a new song. Look, but guys, I feel like I've come across very negatively in this review. I enjoyed this series a hell of a lot more than I was expecting to, and I would recommend it to everyone that enjoys Netflix or can just watch this series. Go ahead and watch it because you will have a whale of a time. It is an incredibly unique series that tackles it tackles everyday situations from a very unique perspective, and I really enjoyed that about this series. So guys, thank you so much for watching my review. You guys are brilliant, you're badass. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, give this video a like, and honestly, please hit the notification bell as well. I think it's down there, I'm pointing towards it. Hit that bell, it would mean a lot to me. You guys are the best. I'll see you in my next video. Hey guys, I'd just like to take this opportunity to shout out Real James. Now, if you don't know who Real James is, it's this guy, and he loves movies. Guys, honestly, he is one of my favorite YouTube channels at the moment, constantly updating you guys with all movie-related news. He's got new videos coming out every single day, so seriously, jump across to his channel, you'll love it.